Joining us. Firstly, were you surprised by any of these changes?
Yes and no. You would have expected, for a fourth reshuffle, you would have expected the president to leave no doubt in anyone's mind about what it is that he was trying to do. You didn't get that feeling. You felt that there was a lot of things that he could have done that he didn't really do, or in the things that he did, there were no obvious explanations. And he left everything in the realm of speculation because he wouldn't take any questions. It was a short and terse statement that started big by saying, 20 years later, where are we as a country, but then fell flat in terms of saying what it is exactly that, or how this reshuffle is going to change that which he believes needs to be changed.
Let's talk about that lack of motivation from the president, because this reshuffle is coming 9 months before we go to the polls. Is this a strategic move on his part?
Well, it could be a strategic move. It could be that he wanted to send a strong signal to South Africans out there that is very serious about service delivery, that is very serious about corruption and related matters. If you look at Dinapula, for example, and the kind of scandals that she's been mired in. But then it doesn't go far enough when you look at what has been happening in education, where I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have a problem with the Minister of Education personally. But given everything that has been happening in education, it suggests that something is very wrong in a portfolio where, as a country, we spend so much money, more money than we spend on any other vote in this country. So it sends those mixed signals. So as much as it would have been strategic had it had been as big and as clear about its intentions and what he was trying to do, then it would have made a big impact. But I doubt if it's going to make the kind of impact that he would have expected.
Why do you think then it is that Angie Motshekga missed that axe?
Well, some people would tell you that because of the constituency she brings to the table, which is the Women's League, but also a lot of people who have respect for her as a leader and as a person. But she hasn't done the same. She hasn't shown the kind of leadership that you'd have expected of someone like her when it comes to education. So it leaves one, and you'll recall, in the past couple of interviews we've done with the president, he's been the one to say heads are going to roll. The situation in Limpopo, for example, has to be explained. And none of that has happened, which then leaves a lot of people to then dismiss what he's trying to say and begin to say, we didn't say, as much as he was aware that a lot of things were wrong in Limpopo and in education generally, he's just not prepared to do the right thing because of the constituency that Angie Motshekga believes. So he has left people to actually continue to believe, to think that way.
Let's quickly talk about the portfolios, the ministries of energy and transport, because we see a swap there of ministers. Vuyo Peters moving to transport, Ben Martins going to energy. Ben Martins had quite a challenge. He faced e-tolling, which was a big hurdle to climb.
And he was still settling in
and
that
he was basically portfolio. There just for a year. So
yeah, you would have thought that the president would have wanted him to continue because he was, gaining confidence. You could see him. He was a different man yesterday from the man he was when he started in that portfolio. Now, for him to jump to another portfolio, a lot of people would probably argue, and probably one of them, that there isn't going to be that continuity. But then the president probably knows what he was trying to do. What a pity that he couldn't let us in on his thinking, in other words, what he was trying to do, because there is no obvious explanation to that swap.
What do you make of Vuyo Peters moving to transport? Will she bring anything new, you think?
It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, and I think only the president knows. I think that's the best answer.
You touched on communications in terms of Dinapula, and it seems like somewhat of a troublesome portfolio, communications, because since 2009 we've had something like 4 ministers, Siphiwe Nyanda, we've had Roy Padiachi, we've had Dinapula, and now we've got the new minister, Karim. What do you make of that?
Well, it doesn't inspire confidence. It means that, except for Minister Padayachi, the other ministers, there were all sorts of controversies and problems. And Minister Dinapula didn't help things either. And the problem about it, which again, is how you distinguish her from Angie Motshekga, for example, to some extent, is that whereas there is no obvious sign of a great deal of delivery, what made things worse for her was all the other sort of scandals, fighting with newspapers when, things didn't seem as obvious or perfect, certainly, scandals of monies disappearing and shoes and all those things. So all those things put together just made life a little easier, I guess, for the president to deal with her than, for example, may have been the case with Angie Motshekga. So she didn't make life easy in a portfolio that is one of the portfolios that have been identified by the government as the portfolios that should take the country's economy forward. A lot of people, I don't think there are other people who will be on her side, would argue that she failed dismally. She didn't show even like a little effort that people would appreciate and say maybe with time she could get better. With each week, with each month that passed by, it was just, the feeling was that she was just getting worse and worse and becoming more of a liability.
Thank you very much for your insight. That was our contributing editor, Vuyo Mvoko. Now, social media users had a varied range of reactions to the president's cabinet reshuffle this afternoon, with some welcoming it while some questioned the move. Let's take a look at that. Jethro tweeting saying, how did Basic Education Minister miss the axe? I'm shocked. Craig saying, Tokyo Sehwale out. Why do I have a feeling another new party will soon spring up? Fidelicel saying, personally, I feel the people that were meant to be removed were not removed. And Paul tweeting saying, and Angie Motshekga has 9 lives. Tsolo talking about the demeanor of the president, saying this time he didn't have a smiley face. He meant serious business. And Kerapetse saying, I'm really surprised about Richard Beloy. Now, President Jacob Zuma has wished South African Muslims a blessed Ramadan. Muslims all over the world observe the month of Ramadan from the sighting of the